I am super appreciative for you guys for showing up under the circumstances. I really appreciate it. Because without you, this doesn't happen, right? A lot of you weren't listening to that talk that I just played out, but it's something that I found a while back, and I listened to it frequently. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to it. And every time I listen to it, it gives me something more. And I often, when I'm getting down on myself, or I'm feeling sorry for myself, things are getting too hard, I always turn to this to give me some inspiration to be able to keep going. And I think one of the things that appeals to me the most about it is this is the pervasive message through his whole talk. And it really speaks to me, and I think it's something that is really relevant for this community, is that this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to change the world. We are trying to make people understand that there's a better way, and that their lives could be so much better, or their families' lives, their parents, whatever, could be so much better if they would just pay attention to this and see if they could learn something from it. One of the things that has been pervasive through our involvement with the whole low-carb thing was like back in 2016 when we did our very first event in San Diego. Pam's uncle was dying of cancer. He had a glioblastoma. We heard about it kind of back in the February of that year. And he loved going to Vegas and playing the slots. That was one of the things that he loved doing. And so we had like a last thing. He came to Vegas in March, and we went out there to be with him as well and kind of spent the weekend with the family. And it was that weekend that we went live for the first time with our website and announcing that we were having this meeting, and my phone was blowing up through the whole weekend with people actually buying tickets, which I was super excited about, but at the same time, it was kind of a somber thing as well. But when I told some people, Dr. Jeff Gerber and Ivor Cummins, I don't know if most of you are probably familiar with them, they heard about this, and they had just done an interview with Andrew Scarborough, who had cured himself of a, he had an Astra, it wasn't a glio, but it was, but he had nose to tail carnivore, and he had basically, halted and reversed his situation. And we knew that if he had tried something like this, it might not have made the difference, but it could have made his life better, and it was at least worth trying. It's free, right? But he didn't want to know. And I have other similar stories with the rest of my family that also don't want to know about it. But when we had that conference, he was in a hospital bed in the lounge of his house, and very, very, very well known in the community there. And people were coming through to say goodbye to him. And we were expecting at any minute throughout that meeting to have a phone call saying he's passed. And in the end, that didn't happen, and he actually passed on the Tuesday or something after the event, and next minute we were on a plane to go to the funeral. But it was just such a reminder of what might have been, or how that possibility that it could have been different if we'd just been prepared to try something. And if any of you follow our podcasts, and the last podcast that came out last couple of days ago was with a absolutely incredible lady called Maggie Jones, her and her husband. She moved to Hong Kong or something, and like a month later got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. She wasn't a smoker. She had lung cancer, had 4 tumors in her brain, 12 lymph, like just right throughout her body. and literally was told to basically say her goodbyes. She was given a few months, and she found out about this, and basically she's cancer-free now. Absolutely incredible story. And what they've gone on to do is now, like she counsels people one-on-one, but it's very emotional for her, and it's a strain. And she feels like she can't reach enough people one-on-one. Her husband has a lot of experience making movies, and so they decided to make a movie. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trailer to that movie now, and tell you a bit more about how you can maybe help them after that.
It's very interesting watching scientific theories come and go, especially with regard to cancer, because it's such an emotionally charged subject.
Almost 100 years ago, in the 1930s, altered metabolism was most of what we knew about cancer.
But when Watson and Crick discovered DNA, this really drew a line.
It was a massive paradigm shift.
And everything went out the window.
We wanted to do the old boring stuff. It just seemed so much more interesting to get into the code, get into the DNA.
The theory of cancer was now that we have all of these genes within us that are the seeds for cancer to develop.
A lot of cancer research has got sidetracked.
It's a very seductive theoretical template that you go from these mutations, you design targeted drugs to hit these mutations, and this leads to cancer therapies.
Has it made a difference in terms of personalized medicine and targeted therapies? Nowhere as much as people think.
Now, people have returned to this idea of metabolism being important because the research just has become more and more illuminating.
Instead of cancer being the product of genetic damage, we think the genetic damage is self-inflicted.
It's interesting because cancer biology was so far off in the genetics, and now you see this shift.
These ideas have been around, but nobody seems to have connected the dots.
When you start looking deeper into this, there are some cancer cells that have no genetic mutations.
The goal of cancer therapies is to kill the tumor before you kill the patient.
The hospitals benefit, the doctors benefit from it, the pharmaceutical companies benefit. It's a huge money revenue generation system.
As I often say, the problem with science is it's done by human beings.
How does evolution fit into this picture?
There is an alternative. How come nobody's telling you about these alternatives?
We don't have a good understanding of what cancer is.
We're still really early in this story.
So there's a URL that you can go and check it out. But what I wanted to just show you is if you go to our website and you go to homepage and you scroll down, you'll see this section here with the latest posts. And a link to their podcast interview that I did with them is there. I know you guys have got so much to listen to this weekend. Maybe you earmark it to go like listen on the plane home or something like that. But it is such an amazing story. They have funded it themselves and through a GoFundMe thing, and they basically have finished production or finished the, I suppose production's the right word. All the filming is finished. Now they've got all the editing, and one of the big things they still need to do is get some really hot graphics to make this thing look super professional. And so they're still trying to raise some money for that. They said it's done no matter what, they're going to do it, but if they can raise some more money, then they can pay people to do like killer graphics, especially, that they don't have the funds for right now. So one of the things that you can do is, and I should have put a page like that up, but I didn't. But so there's on that Cancer Revolution website, there's a way that you can sign up, like pre-order the movie and pay for it. And in that way, they're kind of collecting some money ahead of time so that they can pay to get this project finished. But they created a special code for us that I messed up. I didn't find it an easy way to impart that to you guys here so that you could just click on something. I will try and get that, put it in the app, which we can talk about after this. But if you go to the page where the podcast is, and you go, push the right thing here, down here, little thing there that says click here, and it takes you to a special version of this. And if you scroll down a bit, there's a way to get for LowCarbUSA people to basically get the pre-order for half the price, for like $25. So you pay $25. As the minute that thing is released, it will be sent to you, and in the process, you've helped them to fund this incredible project. So I know they were super excited. They had about 5 or 10 people already make some contributions after we released the podcast. So hopefully there's few of you in there that this speaks to, that will go and pre-order that and help them get this amazing project done. Okay, so who doesn't know about the SMHP? Is there anybody who doesn't know what the SMHP, the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners? You don't know what that is? It's not too many though, right? Or some of you just shy, you don't want to put your hands up. It's not that difficult. Okay, so the rest of you have heard this. So I'll zoom through it. I've only got a few minutes left anyway. It all stemmed from a project that we did with Gary Taubes and Adele Height, to get some feedback for Gary for the next book that he was writing back in 2018, I think, in San Diego. And we were getting feedback from practitioners who were trying to do this in their practice, and the lessons of trials, successes, and everything. But when Gary put me in touch with Adele to help mediate the session that we did, she came to me with this concept of taking low carb mainstream, or taking carbohydrate reduction mainstream, and looking at from a therapeutic point of view. All right, and so one of the things that she said, and she got this idea of, because she was in a court case, a malpractice court case, and the judge had to explain to them what standard of care meant. And I was surprised to find out that it's not a document. It's not what people get taught in med school. It's a consensus. So it's evolving all the time. And if you poll 100 doctors about what's the right way to do something under these particular circumstances, that consensus on what to do there, that is standard of care. And so we know that the standard of care for most of us with the different metabolisms now is not appropriate. And so she's got this vision that we develop an alternative standard of care. Not a replacement standard of care, but an alternative one. So we're not fighting with everybody and saying we're right and you're wrong. We're just saying if you don't eat carbs, then this is it. And if we've got a community of people and community of doctors and practitioners who all agree on that, that's a consensus. That is standard of care. That will hold up in court. And so if you read what it says there, it says, in other words, the standard of care does not come from what is taught in professional training, from public health policy, or even from clinical care guidelines. But although that can help to form and define the standard of care. So we decided this was a great place to start, and she kicked me out the room because I'm not a doctor. But we put a panel of advisors together of 15 of the most fabulous people from all around the world that are icons in this space. And she basically wrote this document, and she bounced it off these 15 people and kept getting revisions back until everybody was happy that this was good to publish. And so we published it on the LowCarbUSA site, but it wasn't the right place for it. And it's a long story, and I'm running out of time, but eventually we realized that we needed a proper non-profit organization that was the home for people that embraced the concept of therapeutic carbohydrate reduction. Okay, and so the Society of Metabolic Health Practitioners came about. And I think that Dr. Eric Westman, who's one of our board members on that nonprofit, I think that name basically was his brainchild. And we don't focus on low carb or keto or any of that. It's about metabolic health. And if you can join this conversation and you can show us any way that can improve metabolic health, and it doesn't have to be low carb. Most of the time it is, but we're not saying it's the only way. If you have a genuine way to help somebody's metabolic health, then come and join this conversation and let us all learn from you. And so we have done an amazing job of establishing this organization. We've got pathways now defined so that's the, yeah, so the clinical guidelines have now a proper home now, and they live here. And the big thing that we've done is form this accreditation process, so that there's a bunch of different pathways that have been defined for people to get accredited. They can use the credentials, MHP for metabolic health practitioner. And this is the way that we establish this community, and that we establish the consensus then within that community that then becomes standard of care for carbohydrate reduction. And that I can retire when we've achieved that. We started putting on one conference in San Diego, right? That was our aim. We were going to put a conference in San Diego, and this is what it's evolved into. It's pretty amazing. Okay, and one of the things, anybody can sign up and put their information in there, so that we've got to have a provider list where people can search for you on speciality, on zip code, on a bunch of different, the search engine is actually pretty incredible. So anybody can go and put in their contact information in there and describe what they do and everything, so people can find them. But in order to become a member and enjoy being able to participate in the forums and the discussions and attend these grand round talks that we have once a month, you need to become a member. And one of the things that we have now is if you go through the weekend and you go to the SMHP, it's thesmhp.org, and you want to sign up as a member and you use the code CONFERENCE, then you can get like $300 or something off your first year's fees to join. And these grand rounds are bundled into groups of 6 and worth like 10 CMEs as well. So you can earn CME credits for attending those talks as well. So it's pretty amazing. We're doing some amazing work. And Amanda, she's there. And just look for the lady in the pink top, right? She was one of our very first accredited practitioners. So you'll see on her name badge that it says MHP.
So, like, what is the difference? Because there's like health coach, student, practitioner, clinician.
So there's all sorts of. It depends what you do, right? Well, that's one of the things that, especially Dr. Westman was very adamant about it. He doesn't want this to be like a click just for doctors. It's about any practitioner, anybody that wants to teach people about this, right? So health coaches, and everybody, the doctor tells somebody to do it and they decide to do it, they're going to need, a lot of them are going to need some kind of coach to help them do it. We're all part of this community, and we're all trying to make this world better. So you need to just find one, whichever one is appropriate to you. There's even a non-practitioner version. If people just want to become members to support us and to participate in the discussions and listen to the grand rounds, then you can join as a non-practitioner as well. And we even have which is much cheaper, and there's a student option as well for those people that are still studying. Okay, and I'm pretty much out of time, so I'm not going to go any further than that. Again, thank you so much for being here. For those of you who've never been to one of these, who hasn't been to one of these before? Wow. Okay, you're in for a treat. Okay, yeah, there we go. Give me a hand. That's awesome. It means that we're reaching more people, right? That's what our aim is, to try and reach more people. And so it's not that same bubble of people that are coming to all the conferences. So that makes my heart sing. Welcome. You're in for as I said, you're in for a treat. And I think to kick it off, who doesn't know who Dr. Ken Berry is? There's not even one person going to even dare to put their hands up now.
Is that Nisha's
yeah, there we go. Yeah, we all know an icon in the space, and he's done more to get this message out to so many more people than we've ever been able to, and I'm very, very appreciative of that.